He used to be someone's whole worlder loyal German shepherd who slept by the front door and wagged his tail every time the keys jingled. But after a home robbery turned violent, he vanished. Days later, he was found limping along the edge of a burned-down property, fur singed, eyes wild, and a broken chain melted halfway around his neck. No one knew his name or story, only that something terrible had happened. When animal control brought him to the Havenwood shelter, he was unrecognizable, shaking, growling, snapping at anyone who came close. The staff tried food, treats, soft voices, but nothing worked. He destroyed every blanket given to him, ignored his toys, and refused to eat unless the room was completely empty. Within a week, they labeled him dangerous, unadoptable, they wrote on his chart. No visitors were allowed near his kennel. He had become another statistic, just a broken dog in a cage, feared by many and forgotten by most. But what no one knew was that his story wasn't over. Not yet. At the shelter, life for the dog now called Rex was defined by fear and isolation. The staff had to sedate him just to clean his kennel or deliver food, and even then, his growls sent chills through the building. Volunteers whispered warnings, "Don't go near him." He had become more of a cautionary tale than a living, breathing soul. His cage was marked with a bright red tag. "Do not enter. Dangerous." No one dared make eye contact, let alone dream of adoption. While other dogs were walked, cuddled, and introduced to families, Rex remained alone, pacing behind steel bars like a prisoner of his own trauma. Some of the staff started to wonder if he would ever leave, except through the back door no animal was meant to exit. Days blurred together. The barking around him was constant, but for Rex, it only deepened the silence in his world. In a place meant for healing and second chances, Rex had already been written off as lost. But what no one realized yet was that all it would take was one small spark-owned person willing to see beyond the growlstow change everything. Everything changed the day. A new volunteer, Maya, walked into the shelter with her 7-year-old daughter, Lily. Unlike the other adults who kept their distance, Lily didn't flinch when she saw the dog in the corner kennel. She didn't see a monster, she saw a soul that was hurting. As the staff looked on in disbelief, Lily slowly crouched near the gate, her small fingers pulling a crumpled crayon drawing from her pocket. It was a child's sketch of a dog with a heart beside it. She slipped it through the bars and softly whispered, "I think you're just scared." The dog didn't growl. He didn't bark. He simply stared, as if stunned by the kindness in her voice. That momensolent, pure, and unexpected was the first time he didn't react in fear, and it wouldn't be the last. Something began to shift, not just in him, but in everyone who watched. To everyone's amazement, the dog didn't growl, he didn't back away. Instead, he slowly sniffed the crayon drawing, then laid down beside it like it meant something. The staff watched from a distance, stunned. No one had ever gotten that close without hearing a warning, growl, or seeing him pace in distress. A few days later, Lily returned this time with a worn-out pink stuffed animal. She gently slid it under the gate. The dog cautiously picked it up and, instead of tearing it apart like his other toys, he placed it beside the drawing and curled up next to them both. It was the first time he'd shown a sign of comfort since arriving. That quiet exchange became a ritual. Every afternoon after school, Lily would sit by the kennel, humming softly or reading picture books out loud. The dog, once feared and sedated just to be examined, now waited by the gate for her. The staff still couldn't approach, but they didn't need to. They saw what mattered. His eyes were softer, his breathing calmer. He had chosen his person, and it wasn't someone with a leash or authority, it was a little girl who simply chose to believe in him. Just as the shelter staff began to believe the impossible, they received a call that changed everything. An elderly man, Mr. Halbrook, claimed the dog, whose name was Rex, had been his loyal companion for nearly a decade before being stolen during a break-in. When Mr. Halbrook arrived, he brought a faded photo of a younger Rex lying at his feet on a wooden porch. His voice trembled as he knelt by the kennel, calling out softly. Rex stood, ears forward, eyes locked on the old man. For a tense moment, no one breathed. But then, something unexpected happened. Rex didn't move toward him. Instead, he turned, picked up the crumpled drawing with his mouth, and walked back to his corner. He lay down beside the picture and the pink stuffed toy, his body calm but deliberate. It was a quiet but powerful choice. The man's eyes filled with tears. "I guess he's already found home again," he whispered. No one in the room spoke, but everyone understood. Rex hadn't forgotten his past, but he had chosen his future, and that future rested in the hands of a little girl who never saw him as broken, only scared and worth loving. Weeks passed, and Rex settled into his new life, calm, loyal, always watching over the little girl like a quiet shadow. But one grey Saturday afternoon, everything changed. Lily didn't return home from the library just a few blocks away. Her mother called the shelter in tears, her voice tight with panic. Maya, the volunteer, turned pale. She looked at Rex, who was already pacing, restless, ears pinned forward like he knew something was wrong. Without hesitation, they clipped a leash on him and broke every protocol. "Find her," Maya whispered. And he did. Rex led them through back streets and alleys, nose to the ground, heart pounding like his paws on the pavement. He stopped, suddenly, behind an old bookstore, barking sharply at a narrow gate. Behind it, curled beneath a broken awning, was Lily, shivering, her glasses cracked, but alive. Rex approached gently, lowering his head onto her lap. She wrapped her arms around his neck and sobbed into his fur. No one spoke. No one had to. The dog, once seen as dangerous, had just saved a child. And in that moment, he became more than a rescue. He became a guardian, a hero, and a symbol of how love can rewrite even the deepest scars. After that day, everything changed, not just for Rex, but for everyone who'd ever doubted him. The shelter was flooded with visitors wanting to meet the dog who saved the little girl. But Rex didn't care for the attention. His eyes still only searched for Lily. A few weeks later, Maya stood before the shelter staff, holding a signed adoption form. "Rex belongs with Lily," she said simply, and so he did. He moved into their small home, where he had a bed by Lily's nightstand, and followed her from room to room like a shadow with a heartbeat. At night, he curled at her feet. In the morning, he walked her to school. Lily smiled more, laughed louder, and stood taller. Teachers noticed. Her confidence grew like spring after a long winter. Rex had given her safety, and in return, she gave him peace. He never growled again. No more cages, no more chains, just a backyard, a warm hand, and a girl who saw past his brokenness. Years later, when Lily graduated, she held up a framed photo of the day she first met Rex. "This," she said, "was the beginning of everything." And everyone in the crowd knew Rex had found more than a home. He had found his forever.